Decide what our favorite pastime really is, eating some consideration. We contract the habit of eating at a very early age, and we like it so well This fellow simply lives to eat. It's one and only indoor sport. Every few hours he wants that snack, and if he doesn't get it, well, he's most unhappy about the whole thing. Some folks say it's hard to get up before breakfast, but most folks know it's a mighty good way to start the day right. Uh-oh, a trifle late there, my good man, and Father is a bit vexed about it. But all's well that ends well. And what's a picnic without food? But who ever heard of such a thing? Yes, sir, it's the food that makes the picnic. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if this delightful young lady doesn't also know that it's the way to a man's heart. And banquets. Why, our national life would be entirely disrupted without them. Conventions would cease. Clubs go out of existence. High school seniors couldn't graduate. Politicians couldn't run for office. And the local boy who made good couldn't be welcomed home. And worse yet, Sweet Adeline and Hail, Hail the Gang's all here would nevermore the welkin ring. Perish the thought. Now, we're sorry to tell you this, but with all this regular eating of 3 square meals, and sometimes more each day, many people, perhaps most people, do not know the fundamentals of good diet, which should be common knowledge with all of us. The food chemist, scientifically analyzing foods into their nutritive elements, will tell us that health, vitality, mental alertness, steady nerves, and even happiness and a wholesome outlook on life are all very largely determined by the foods we eat. It's surprising how many people ignore such sage and scientific advice. Take a Saturday off sometime and you'll have no trouble finding all the examples you need to prove the point. The fat ones, the lean ones, the sad ones, the mean ones, those with jittery nerves and angular curves, those who can't keep step. Are you in pain? Toothache. What a shame. And don't tell this to anybody, but that young man just sitting down failed to make the team again this year. And let's see. Oh, yes, that's the girl who wrote a letter last week to the charm and personality editor of the local newspaper. Like most of us, these people do not know how important a proper diet is to health, happiness, vitality, appearance, and hence personality. Of course, for a special diet, you should consult your doctor. But everybody can know the important rules of food selection and thereby avoid some serious mistakes. First, for convenience, we can group foods into 2 general classes, those primarily for protection and those which principally supply energy. The protective foods are essential in the meals of everybody, whether 6, 16, or 60. They include milk and milk products, vegetables, fruits, and eggs. These foods supply certain protective elements that we must have every day to maintain vitality and build body resistance to disease. These so-called energy foods supply mainly the starches, fats, and sugars. We should have some of them every day, the amount depending on the work or exercise we do. But when it comes to these, many of us have to be careful. An excess of the energy foods is inclined to produce overweight. Excess weight is not only damaging to one's appearance, but dangerous to one's health. The safest rule for everyone to follow is to eat enough of the protective foods first, and then whatever may be needed of the energy foods. This healthy, happy-looking family, who have kindly let us drop in right at mealtime, have discovered another fact. Of all the protective foods, milk is the most important, and just as necessary for dad and mother as for the youngsters. The food experts tell us every adult should have a pint or more of milk a day, and every growing child at least a quart. It is almost impossible to get enough of the protective elements without adequate amounts of milk. Milk does more for the body than any other food, and does it more cheaply. Suppose this rectangle represents the chief daily requirements of an average individual. I hope this surprises you as much as it did me. 1 quart of milk will supply not only all the calcium and vitamin G or riboflavin that you need, but generous amounts of the other vital elements as well. Phosphorus, about 3/4. Vitamin A, 1/2 or more. Protein, nearly 1/2. Vitamin B or thiamine, 1/3 or more. Energy, 1/4 or more. Iron and vitamin C, at least 1/6. If your body lacks these elements, you will one day discover that you're a long way from being the man or woman you could have been. You will recognize these as human teeth, I hope. A diet adequately supplied with calcium and phosphorus will help build strong teeth which resist decay. Decayed teeth, in turn, will make you an easy mark for several kinds of disease. Turn the magic X-ray on this fellow, Doctor. That's fine, thank you. The proper contraction and expansion of the muscles, yes, that's it, is another of the functions of calcium. In fact, this element plays such a significant part in the human body that it even helps to regulate the heartbeat. But that's still not all. Bone and tooth development and the healthful maintenance of them is an important calcium requirement. Thank you, sir. You may have your skeleton back now. Now let's visit a modern scientific laboratory where thousands of white rats are supplied all the comforts of home, and sometimes the discomforts. See, they're really very interesting fellows, and would make excellent playmates, if you like white rats. Well, some folks do, and some don't, it seems. But at any rate, they have taught us a great many extremely important facts about what to eat and what happens when important elements are omitted. The white rats in these two pens are the same age. You'd never guess it, would you? Well, what happened? The scrawny little ones were kept on a diet entirely lacking in milk. Their big, husky brothers and sisters were given a balanced diet which included milk, and that's the secret of their success. Milk is just as important to the health of boys and girls and men and women as to our animal friends. But apparently none of our friends here know the value of milk as a basic requirement for everyone, and that is to be deplored. So what do you say? Let's tip off the waitress, and just for the fun of it, have her set a glass of milk in front of each of our visitors here as a good start toward healthful living. Of course, if you want to try to get your calcium in a different way, well, you might try this meal for a sample. These are good foods and have a proper place in the diet. But when it comes to calcium, you would have to eat all of the food shown here to equal the calcium of 1 quart of milk. Actually, you'd have to eat 3 heads of lettuce, the juice of 5 large oranges, 5 servings of beef, 10 servings of peas, 7 medium potatoes, 5 eggs, 20 slices of bread, 5 bowls of cereal, and 5 apples. Quite a good-sized meal, you will admit. Perhaps, after all, you would prefer the quart of milk. And besides, while we are on the subject of milk, we should remember it is an important source of vitamins A, B, and G. Vitamin A for positive health and vigor, for normal functioning of the eyes and resistance to certain infections. Vitamin B or thiamine for maintenance of the appetite and to aid digestion. Vitamin G or riboflavin is especially important for preserving the characteristics of youth, for health, skin and eyes, and for general vitality. And finally, since vitamin D aids in the utilization of calcium, the scientists have provided methods for increasing this essential food element in special vitamin D milk. Somebody has smartly said that milk drinkers live more years and have more life in the living. Health is a treasured possession of those fortunate enough to have it. A zest for life is the hope of all persons, young or old. Buoyant health, so vital to the player on the football field, is also vital in the everyday affairs of life and the daily job of making a living. Health is the basis for the desirable characteristics of vitality, charm, vigor, straight thinking, and active enjoyment of the society of others. But Uncle Sam knows how important to health and vitality the proper foods are, especially the protective foods. At Annapolis, the U.S. Naval Academy, where Uncle Sam's future admirals must keep in the best of condition. At West Point, the Army Officers Training School, where bodily health and mental keenness are essential. At the U.S. Army Air Corps training fields, where only the most skillful and best prepared men are capable of such amazing air maneuvers as you see here. And with Uncle Sam's valiant Coast Guard that must patrol, in fair or stormy weather, our thousands of miles of coastline, the protective foods form the basic diet. Here are typical foods at the Naval Academy. 1 quart of milk a day in addition to that used in cooking. Eggs for breakfast 4 times a week. Meat twice a day. And liberal quantities of fruits, vegetables, cheese, and butter. For dessert, ice cream almost every day. There's a thrill to living when you're bubbling over with health and vitality. The proper diet will help anyone to have better health and to enjoy a longer and happier life. Competition is keen in the commercial workaday world, and the promotions and bigger pay envelopes go to the men and women with steady nerves, alert minds, strong bodies, sparkling personalities. Such people have a great advantage in securing employment, for they are in demand by discerning employers. Airline pilots are noted for good health, active vitality, and keen, alert minds. These men represent the best in this modern, streamlined, fast-moving age. The airline's hostess is the envy of every girl in the country. She must have health, charm, steady nerves, a pleasing personality. This is a magnificent period in the young men and women who will find a successful place for themselves in this mentally and physically to meet the demands of a progressive, highly active, and fast-moving age. For health, vitality, speed, and endurance, join the parade of those who love to eat the right foods and who have achieved more life in living.